Hey everyone, Luke here from Crisp Accountancy. I'm going to talk to you about the job retention scheme, furlough, everyone's favourite topic. So we published a blog last week just to cover the basics that were announced around the timescale for scaling back the retention scheme through June through to October, and also this new part-time furlough role that can be embraced by the changes in the scheme. So we've had some further guidance published late Friday night, thanks to that. And we're just going to go over what that means and how this might look in practice now. So we'll cover some basics that are in the blog, so please do read the blog for more guidance, and then we'll talk about some of the differences as well. So the main thing is that from July, you can bring people back to work and still have them furloughed at the same time. So you can part-time bring them back and claim furlough. And then there's some changes in what you can claim for August through to October. So in August, you're still going to get the 80% as an employer, but now you have to pay the employer's NI and the pension contributions in August rather than the government previously. Then in September, you're still paying for those, but you're only going to get 70%. So you'll have to contribute 10% or a minimum of 10%. You can still top up their wages to 100% if that's what you want to do, but minimum 70% from the government, 10% for you. And October, that drops down to 60% from the government and 20% from you as the employer. And also those total caps in terms of what the government support that was previously £2,500 per month for those of you that have the higher paid workers. That cap is gradually reduced in September and October as well. So check the full table in the blog for the guidance on that. Be aware of what that means in terms of your contributions that you'll need to be making, and talk to us if you've got any questions on that. That's fairly straightforward. So the other thing that you need to be aware of is who you can claim for post the 1st of July. So yes, we've got this part-time thing going on, but there's also restrictions about what employees you can bring into being furloughed. So you cannot add any newly furloughed employees onto the scheme after the 1st of July. So the employees that you furlough from July onwards, they had to have been furloughed for a consecutive period of at least 3 weeks at some point from March through till the 30th of June. So if you have an employee who you've never furloughed, you can't suddenly furlough them in the 1st of July. So that's the first thing to be aware of. The second thing that's catching people out is the total number of employees furloughed in one claim. So the number of employees furloughed in a single claim from July cannot exceed the maximum number of number of employees you had furloughed under any one claim leading up to the 30th of June. So if you've been claiming monthly, then you're going to look back over each of those claims you made for the previous months and look at the total number of employees you had furloughed at any one point in time. If you had 5 furloughs employed in April, for example, then going forward, the maximum number of employees you'll ever be allowed to furlough will be 5. So that's a really important thing to check. See how many your maximum claim was and be wary of that moving forward, because you can't exceed that. You can go up to it, but not exceed it. You need to be aware as well, there's a time restriction now as well. So for claim periods that are made up to the 30th of June or before, the 31st of July is the last time you can claim for those. So you've got a month to make sure all your claims previously have been filed. Otherwise you will miss out. So flexible furlough, what does that mean? Well, previously we had a 3-week minimum period. So once you furloughed someone, they had to stay furloughed for 3 weeks before you could bring them back. That restriction has now been removed. So there is no minimum or maximum furlough period now under the part-time rules from the 1st of July. You can bring back someone for any length of period and furlough them again. And there is no restriction around what number of hours you can furlough them for, number of days. So essentially, it's up to you to agree this with the employee. It does need to be agreed. It does need to be in writing. Email is fine. And you need to keep a very strict log of how many hours they're working and how many hours they're furloughed for. So as the name suggests, it is very flexible. It will help a lot of businesses that have got intermittent workload or project-based workload. You can bring them back for a project and then if the work dries up again, you can furlough them again. You just need to keep a record of that essentially, and process that in the claim when you submit that to HMRC. So there might still be further guidance on this. There's probably lots of questions still to come out of this, but we think this is some useful clarification. And obviously, the amount you can furlough them for when they're part-time working and part-time furloughed, the furlough claims, the 80%, 70, 60%, that is only for the hours they're not working. So for example, if they're working 2 days a week for you and they would have usually worked 5 days a week, then you can claim 80, 70, 60% of the 3 days they're not working for you. So that's perhaps not obvious to everyone, but you should be aware of that. And you can only be furloughing them for their usual working arrangements as well. So if they would have only worked for 3 days a week, usually they're working for you 2 days a week, you can furlough them for 1 day a week, not suddenly an additional 2 days a week that they wouldn't have previously been working for you. Bound to bring up lots more questions, but at least now you should have an idea of what you can start to look to do and start planning for, to start to ease yourself back into some sort of new normality moving forward. So like I said, check the blog, it's got the time frame on there. We'll keep releasing more guidance on this as and when more information is published from government, or if more questions keep arising that we think we haven't covered, we'll cover those as well. So let us know if there's anything else we can help with.